Hardy Construction.
What's up, everybody? It's the Hardy Construction. You can find us at hardyconstruction.tumblr.com, youtube.com/hardyconstruction, as well as facebook.com/the Hardy Construction with your host, Alex.
Ivy Winters.
And today's film is
Innocent Blood.
Innocent Blood is a 1992 comedy crime horror film directed by John Landis, written by Michael Wolk, starring Anne Parrier, Anthony LaPaglia, and Robert Loggia.
Would it be considered a comedy?
I think it was trying to be a comedy. The film is about Marie, who has two appetites, sex and blood. Her career as a vampire is going along fine until two problems come up. She is interrupted while feeding on Sal the shark. Marcelli? Was it Marcelli or Marchetti? They said Marchetti, didn't they?
I think it was Marcelli.
Marcelli. And she begins to fall in love with a random police detective or whatever the fuck he is. Who's LaPaglia? Joe. So let's talk about this film. Why did you decide to pick this film this week, Daniel?
I haven't seen it in quite a few years, and I realize we never do vampire things.
Have we not done a vampire film?
I mean, we must have, but well, yeah, we did.
How long have we been doing this show that we don't know?
Not Creepshow.
This is like episode 103. I'm trying to figure out 100.
We've done. I just can't think what the one with like the very homoerotic vampire. And that kid sees him burying a body outside the window, and then like you go in and there's like an Igor type of character and.
Homoerotic vampire. You sure it wasn't like high school video footage of me or something like that?
Well, I have that.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna be thinking about that all week though. A vampire that's gay and looking for a young boy. Okay.
Look through our catalog.
Okay, so let's get through this film. It takes place in New York City, I assume. It didn't look like New York City. Was it in New York City? No, it wasn't.
It's in New Jersey because I saw Liberty Tunnel at one point.
Okay.
Wait, no, that's Lincoln Tunnel. Did it say Lincoln or Liberty? I don't know where the hell it was. It was a city.
Yeah, it did look like a city, but it wasn't. Like there's a section of the film where they go into the middle of like strip clubs, and it didn't look very New Yorkish to me. But then
could have been like Jersey. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Okay. So Pittsburgh. Excuse me. That's how close we were to this. So it's a 1992 film. Let's get into the meat of the story. What is this film about, Danny? Besides the story I just said, what really is this film really about?
It's about a evil mobster that gets turned into a vampire.
Who's Robert Loggia?
By accident, yeah, he gets turned into a vampire by accident, and then kind of, tries to start like a little vampire mafia. And
which I think would have been an amazing film by itself, because Robert Loggia, I think everybody knows Robert Loggia just by name alone. The last thing
Fright Night.
He was not. Was he in Fright Night?
Saying the vampire Fright Night.
What are you talking about?
Wasn't that the one with the vampire that we did?
Oh, okay, we did Fright Night. Okay, I'm like, Robert Loggia was in Fright Night? Anyway, I remember the last film that I saw Robert Loggia in was the Tim and Eric movie, and it actually has one of the best, first half an hours, although I'm not really a Tim and Eric guy.
That.
What?
Still have not seen that.
Yeah, you could. It's funny.
I heard it was kind of like a failed skit, basically. I've seen, all of season 1 pretty much, and bits and pieces of season 2 and 3.
Yeesh.
I like them, but I feel like some of their stuff doesn't do it.
So let's get into the main character, Marie, who is played by Anne Parrier. What kind of character is she? Do you think she's not even necessary for the film? I mean, she is necessary in a way, but
She's slow.
Do you think it's because of her accent? Because she was in the original film of La Femme Nikita. She was Nikita in the original. Anybody who's seen Stateside, they know the show. What's the show? What was it called here? God, it was in the 90s. They remade La Femme Nikita as a TV show. There's two versions of La Femme Nikita. One that came on during the mid 2000s or late 90s, and there's one on now with an Asian lady playing her. But there was a movie called Point of No Return, which was a remake, the American remake. Danny's like, who the fuck cares? But this is what I meant to say. She was the original Femme Nikita, which spun off all this Femme Nikita shit that you see on TV nowadays. And that movie was crazy. But what am I doing?
We haven't talked about the movie at all.
I'm just saying that's where people would know Anne Parrier from. And she has a very... I think La Femme Nikita is what probably got her this job in this film, because La Femme Nikita it's basically the film that got Luc Besson famous.
She's a strange-looking person. I can't tell if she's attractive or not.
In some parts, she's attractive, but for the most part, she's kind of very. What is it? Like, there's a certain taste you gotta have.
Yeah.
There's a thing I had in art class at Fruity University, and
Mhm.
it was like a digital class where we had to take pictures of models and then edit them in Photoshop because we were learning them like cavemen. And this young, thin, waifish white woman came in with short blonde hair, and she just stripped down to her like a thong and a top wearing boots, and she was pointing a gun, and we all had to take a photo of her. And I was not. I mean, you know.
This is a live model?
Yes. No, it was an
Yeah.
actual robot that came into the class. So
No,
she
no, I
came
wasn't
into
sure
the
if it was an
class.
image. No, I remember the models at school. I went to the same school as Alex, everybody.
Who was the teacher? Chris. What's his name? Poland. Did you ever have that teacher? That guy's awesome.
The illustration teachers were doing. But the point is,
She came in and she was very bone thin.
the models were always freaky that we got.
She was very skinny, this girl, and I was like, I couldn't get it, but he was like, it was in love. Our teacher was in love with this lady. If he's married, he wasn't in love. But he was like, oh, it's a European look. It's a European look. And that's what I think this girl has in this movie. That she's very skinny, very boyish body. Like she has, what, A-cup breasts or something like that?
Yeah.
Very.
Like, I have bigger boobs.
My my resolution on my screen was bad. Did she have a nice ass? I couldn't tell.
Nah, I don't think so.
Young boy body?
Yeah, pretty much.
So she has this very young boy body, and she's traipsing around her apartment. And they unnecessarily give her a voiceover in the film.
Yeah, what the hell? And then when they do her like talking like scary, her voice gets really weird. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like those parts are almost like too. Those aren't meant to be.
You think
comic.
Schwarzenegger has a scary voice, or is it
Well,
just because
as a-
you got the Jewish?
Girl, he does.
Because you have the Jewish, and you're a German guy, it's automatically scary.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
It's in my DNA. I hear like angry German voice. I get scared.
oh god, but yeah, they give her this unnecessary. It's the way they set up the film. It almost feels like the first 30 seconds of the movie feels like it's going to be an interview with the vampire. Because I had no idea what this film was about. I tried
I love the music in this movie, though.
Yeah, it's good. It's really old school 80s adventure kind of music. But for modern cinema. And the way they set up the film, she's saying, you know, I haven't eaten for a while, and I lost my lover because I couldn't eat, or some shit like that. Whatever she's talking about.
She's gonna have Italian.
She has that's why they say it's a comedy, because they have big hilarious jokes like that in the movie. But they're setting it up to be almost like a vampire's tale, but she disappears for bits and pieces while we're introduced to another character played by a very Robert De Niro looking Anthony LaPaglia, who I'm sure everybody's seen him in something else.
You thought he looked like that? I thought he looked like what's his face, with the 8 brothers, Baldwin. No.
Yeah,
Andy
no,
Garcia.
he has a Baldwin look about him too. He
And
kind of.
I thought he looked like Andy Garcia too, actually.
LaPaglia has a look of a lot of different actors. That's why I was like, does he look like a little bit like who's the kid from Transformers?
There's also a dude in here, one of the mafia people, who I swore was the same guy from Dead Alive, Void or whatever, the one that like scratches,
really?
has no legs.
There's a lot of familiar character actors in this film, especially my favorite, which they underutilized in this film, was Joe. What's his name? Damn, I forgot his name.
What?
Paulie Walnuts from The Sopranos. If you've seen Sopranos, he's like the worst Italian stereotype mobster.
I've never really seen The Sopranos. So
it's good for a while. You got to watch it like in spaces, but it's a really good show. But he's in this, and they don't even use him for some reason. The Sopranos and David Chase knew to use him at his worst Italian stereotypical Goomba. I mean, it's a genius character, but he was like only looking stupefied in this movie, and that's it. But it's enough, I guess. So anyway,
all I can say is Robert Loggia is a great
he's
actor.
The best, man. I wanted Robert Loggia to win in this movie. I wanted him to win.
Yeah, me too.
That's because
he's
the other
a great, like, scary mafia guy. Really
yeah,
is.
because he was really over the top. This film, in a way, it was funny because I was watching Crank 2 earlier in the day. For some reason, I just had it on the background while I was doing work. And Crank 2 has a similar ending to this one. Did you see Crank 2?
No, I haven't even seen Crank 1, but people keep telling me
Yeah,
I
you
have
should
to,
watch them.
so I really want to, just because like I thought it was gonna be like a car movie or something.
No,
but
no,
then
no,
I heard
no,
what
no.
it actually
They're not the
is.
greatest movie. They're equivalent to like if they made Grand Theft Auto into a movie. That's what they are. They're just like really nutty, but they like over the top. And anyway, in Crank 2, which I was watching today, really has a beautiful editing style to that film. Just the way the movie looks. I mean, the movie's probably bad. I don't know, but they are the same guys that did Ghost Rider 2, so. But
boy.
anyway, so in the Crank 2, Chev Chelios, the main character, is burning to death. Oh, he's actually just burning, and he's standing around and gives his middle finger to the audience. And that's basically what happens to Robert Loggia in this film as well. But Robert Loggia is so awesome in this movie as an over-the-top bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's three narratives in the film, because first we barely deal with Marie, and she's this vampire, and they have really weird vampire rules in this film. I don't really like.
They weren't weird. They were the typical ones.
No.
What was weird?
The vampires here were like zombies. They work like zombies in a sense. Here's the thing. Okay, what do you know about vampires from general lore? What do you know about vampires?
Well, the general lore is they have to sleep at night. They don't fucking sparkle. That's for sure.
Okay.
I mean, not at night, obviously. You know what I meant. They can't be in the sun. The sun kills them. Okay. Garlic is bad. Steak through the heart.
Wooden stakes, right?
You gotta cut off their head, fill their mouth with garlic, and stab them through the heart to kill them.
No reflections, right?
No reflections.
In this film,
and they can entrance you.
In this film, we never find out if stabbing. Nobody gets impaled in this film, right?
No, you're right with the zombies. Actually, shooting in the head. Yeah.
Right. Vampires here can get shot in the head and die.
Yeah, or their neck's broken.
Which I don't. Yeah, that too. Which I don't hate that much, getting shot in the head, because it kind of humanizes the vampire.
I actually love getting shot in the head.
Yeah, I don't think there's a problem, but I mean, I've learned to forgive. I've learned to forgive. Oh, okay, good. I've learned to forgive that kind of stuff. Although, you get stuck to a vampire films, you're like, oh, play by the rules. But then when you have 28 Days Later, you're like, okay, that's fine by me. But with this, there was a movie that I saw that really bugged the shit out of me, and it starred Don the Dragon Wilson. I don't know why I would rent movies all the time when I was younger, but bad movies, like really bad straight-to-video, cheap karate movies. And I think it was called A Night Striker, or some stupid movie where he fought vampires, and the way you could kill vampires in that movie is by breaking their necks.
Okay.
And that's how he killed all the vampires in the movie, by breaking their necks. And I was like, there's no sun or nothing. Like, it didn't make any sense. So when they did that in this film, I was like, what the fuck? Did Don Dragon write this shit?
Yeah, but a human wouldn't be able to break their neck. Only a strong vampire could.
Only Don the Dragon could do it. And especially if you could shoot people. So Anthony LaPaglia shoots people in the head and they
But then again, in Dusk Till Dawn, the vampires are soft, which is, according to lore too, they're supposedly soft.
I would think so, because they have weaker bodies, but they're
have super strong, but they're mushy,
fallible, right? So, and there's another thing which is there was a big weird plot holes in the film too, with her being they're able to see their reflections in this film. But anyway, there's a part where I like how they do the little vampire thing. It's more the infection route instead of having to feed them their blood, like if you would interview a vampire thing.
Yeah.
Like where she'll bite somebody, but it's a weird thing too. She'd have to shoot them or blow their heads up or something.
Right.
To make it, it's two ways. She says it to cover up the murder, that it's a vampire murder. Although people find out anyway that the blood is missing from the body, like 5 liters, right?
Yeah.
Or 5 pints. Excuse me, 5.
I don't know why she couldn't. Well, I guess I get in the Anne Rice idea of vampires, like they could like hide their tracks so easily and just like disintegrate the body with fire or whatever.
Right, and in here she would shoot them with a huge shotgun, which I thought was pretty neat, but it was also had some weird kind of thing to it. But I got used to it, whatever. That was the rules of this movie. And then also, if you did not do that, the person that died would come back as a vampire. But I like how they handled
instantaneously, almost. It was like within like a couple hours,
right? But I've seen that in movies before. I mean, that happened in from Dusk Till Dawn. It had that kind of stuff, so that's fine by me. The thing is, for the most part, when somebody came back as a vampire in this film, they were well aware, but they didn't know that they were a vampire. They would be like, "What the hell just happened?" You know what I mean? Like, why?
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
It took a while for Robert Loggia's character to realize that he was one of the undead, which was funny. It added to a lot of the funny. He used the funniest part of the movie. Nobody else is really funny in this movie at all. But there's another problem that I had with that, is that a cop is turned into a vampire later on. So why did he ultimately just turn evil? Like, what do you think that was about?
Wait, which part?
Remember, they have these 2 bumbling cops. One played by Luis Guzman, and another cop. And one of them gets, at the end when Robert Loggia is creating all these vampire army.
Was he the one that says, "I'll eat your face like a chicken"?
I think it was. No, I think that was one of the other Guidos or whatever. Was that a racist term? I don't know.
It was apt. That's what it was.
But anyway, one of the cops comes back as a vampire, and he just instantly attacks somebody. And the only way I can think about that is that because
He's so hungry.
Because it was it was a blood strain, I guess. Like the lower vampires were making this vampire, and then he just instantly became. Nah, I guess
although that is an Anne Rice rule that, like, the vampire is stronger. The whatever the hell they call them. I forget what they call them. Not
Fruits.
Spawn, but whatever the hell their babies would be.
How good were those movies? I mean, that movie.
I can't remember the movies. I read
the books,
the first 5 books, and then I kind of lost all interest because they got stupid.
He got married to one of the witches, and that's how it ended. So there you go.
They brought the witches into it, right? Yeah, like the fuck is that about?
And the weird thing about this too, like the vampire, she's very sexual, and you're showing like as the taglines or whatever that little information thing said, it was that she needs sex or blood. Well, she needs blood and sex. And
he needs to get into bondage.
Yeah. Well, I was like, okay, so let's just set up Anthony LaPaglia's character. He's a guy who's a mole inside of I forget what the family was called, of the mafia family. He's in some. Yeah, he's a mole in a mafia family. I don't
the
really know.
Michelli family. Would that make sense?
I would guess so. I don't know. But he's part of this Michelli's crew, and they kill some guy in the front. But he's making sure he's not touching anything. He's doing anything. He doesn't want to jeopardize himself like Donnie Brasco or some shit like that. Anyway, we find out that he's a mole later on with, for some reason, I don't know why, Angela Bassett was in the movie, because she's like a really good actor. I'm like, Angela Bassett? She's in for
like 10 seconds.
Yeah, and she's like a really good actor. I'm like, well, they even got good actors to play like Bidpole. Like everybody in the film was a really good actor. That's like
this must have been a big deal film at the time.
It is. I mean,
I've seen it as a kid.
It's John Landis, so John Landis, like I can't really say I've seen John Landis movie. Well, I did see. He was obviously An American Werewolf in London, which was one of the best horror films.
We should do that. Actually.
He's like, obviously, but then he got into trouble because he hired a helicopter to decapitate an actor and 2 children on the set of The Twilight Zone.
Wait, what?
Remember I told you that he was directing a segment of the Twilight Zone film, and he was trying, what apparently this is the story was. There was a film version of the Twilight Zone, the movie. Obviously, I'm sure a lot of people have seen it with John Lithgow. He's doing.
Opens up with the wonderful Dan Aykroyd scene.
Yes. Why was he in that movie again?
He's just in the beginning for like 2 seconds. He's like, "You want to see something really scary?" And then he turns into a monster.
I don't get I don't get Dan Aykroyd. That's just me.
You don't get Dan Aykroyd. Coneheads, man. Coneheads.
I really don't get him now that you said that. So anyway, they Spielberg did. I think he did
Nothing But Trouble. He wrote that movie.
Did Spielberg? Or then I'm okay with that.
Or maybe his brother wrote it.
Did Spielberg? You saw the Twilight Zone movie, right?
Yeah.
Did they do some Cocoon thing where it was like old people? Was that the Spielberg one?
There was a.
I know there was a shitty one in there. There was a real.
A while, but the ones I remember is the Nazi one, the kid that with the wishes, you can make anything happen.
Right. So
the airplane.
So Landis was the one that directed the Nazi one, where this guy who's a racist and he goes throughout time being persecuted for his race in every segment. And while he was directing that, apparently the whole thing was that he was trying to outdo Spielberg in his movies. And Landis is pretty good. Landis directed Thriller, the Michael Jackson video, which is still the #1 video of all time, I
assume. Okay.
You know that sound is coming out of Michael Jackson's grave right now? Like he's trying to climb his way.
He's still got like a morphine drip going in him.
But he was directing this segment for Twilight Zone, and he wanted to outdo Spielberg. This is what they say. And at the time, they had a low-flying helicopter on the shot in the sequence, and it's supposed to be like Vietnam. And the main actor, Vic Morrow, was helping his 2 kids, and this was late at night, so this is why they ended up making child welfare rules in the films. He was getting these 2 kids out of this bog, and there was a helicopter hovering above them about 10, 15 feet. Uh-huh. While it was hovering over them, there was pyrotechnics of explosions going on, and one of them hit one of the rudders of the helicopter, which made it spin in where it's down. And that helicopter's propeller decapitated Vic Morrow and the little girl he was holding, but then the helicopter fell and crushed the little boy that was underneath. So it was not a good day.
He killed the main actor too?
Yeah, he killed those three the kids you don't give a shit about, right? 2
No, I
Vietnamese
care about
kids.
that too, but I'm saying, how'd they make the movie if the actor
They
died?
shot enough stuff. It's almost like Brandon Lee in The Crow, and then Heath Ledger in The Joker. They shot everything importantly, and then I guess they kept this most important scene for the last take.
They should have. What they should have done is use some of that movie magic, put the heads back on the children,
Jesus Christ,
and get them to finish their fucking roles.
You know what movie they did that with was the worst?
That's so fucked up.
They
I'm
did
sorry.
the last movie that Bruce Lee did when he died of whatever happened to him too. They were trying to cobble it together for America because there were two versions of the film, one for Hong Kong and one for American release. And they were like, holy shit, what do we do? So they tried to make it into some sort of James Bond movie. And then they try to make it that Bruce Lee's character will be from behind all the time, putting on masks, like if it was a different guy. And then one part, he's sitting and he's supposed to be looking in the mirror, and it's by God the worst thing I've ever seen in my life because they had an actor sit there and he wore a cardboard cutout of Bruce Lee's face looking in the mirror. It's the worst because it was the 70s.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing I've ever seen in a movie trying to cover up somebody's
Did they
death.
do the overdubbing on it?
No, the mouth couldn't move, so they couldn't do shit about it.
They could have done like the what's it called? Oh, Conan O'Brien.
Oh, the lips, cargo clutch shit.
Or like that annoying orange.
So let's get back to this movie. So Anthony LaPaglia is there. Well, anyway, that's why John Landis was probably big shit making this movie. That's why he had a lot of people in this film. He had Sam Raimi does a cameo, which Danny didn't even notice.
I didn't even realize. Yeah.
I only know it's Sam Raimi if it's not Ted Raimi, because Ted Raimi looks like Sam Raimi if he had mental illness or something like that. So, you know what I'm talking about, bro. You look at Ted Raimi as Joxer the Mighty. And, John Landis was a big deal at the time, and I guess after this, or before, it was after this or before this, I don't know, whatever.
Swallow your soul.
Yes, that one. So they did this film, and it was a pretty big deal. And actually, when they were selling it overseas, they called it a French vampire in America. I guess
that's such a horrible name.
Right, they were just trying to sell it as a spiritual sequel to an American Werewolf from
London.
They were?
Yeah, I would say that.
But he didn't know that, so he was pissed off about it, which is pretty funny. And anyway, the second character, I know we're taking forever with it, but Anthony LaPaglia, this cop character who's like no nonsense. He just looks like a lot of actors, which is very weird at this age. He looked like every actor you'd see. Whatever, fuck him. He's a guy that ends up falling in love with this girl within 2 days of the movie, which bugs me a little bit.
He loves her. I love that in movies.
Yeah, the
concept of love. They make it so simple.
This takes a span over of a week, or not even a week, like 4 days or 3 days, 2 days even.
They don't say the amount of days, but
it looks like about 2 days.
It's less than a week.
Yeah, it's less than a week. So Marie doesn't kill his character, Joe Gennaro. Because
she only kills bad guys.
Right, so it's basically a Dexter, but she's a vampire.
She's like Lestat.
Lestat killed everybody. So anyway,
in the movie he did, but in the book he only goes after the bad ones.
Yeah, he's a lot nicer. He was like a prissy bitch in the movie.
But
I still like him.
According to him, Lewis, ruined his reputation with that book.
Although Lestat set up for the little girl's death by sunlight. Oh, they cut that out of the movie, though. You notice that? So he was a little bit nicer in the movie. And then the part when he was trying to tell Luis to join Scientology, that shit made no sense. So anyway, Marie doesn't kill him, and eventually Marie is there, and she catches up with Robert Loggia's character, Sally the shark, and she bites him, and he turns into he dies, but I guess she didn't have enough time to completely kill him. I don't know what scared her off. She could have just decapitated him.
All those mafia guys with the guns.
She's a vampire, but they could still shoot her
in the stomach.
Yeah, they can still shoot her and injure her, but she won't necessarily die so quick. I guess it's more of a quicker healing factor than a regular human. But the whole film owes its awesomeness to Robert Loggia. There's no question about how fucking awesome he is in this movie. He's just like the ultimate asshole bad guy that gets superpowers. And it's weird because an hour into the film it almost feels like it's the climax of the movie because they're basically chasing him around in the city. Mm-hmm. I almost thought they were gonna chase him around the city and kill him there, and then deal with the next hour of her being a vampire dealing with him. That's how I thought. I thought he was gonna be an unnecessary character like that, but he ends up being the main bad guy of the film. And it's weird. I could have
watched if they just had him for like another half an hour. I would have been happy to watch.
Yeah, it's weird that the film is actually.
And Don Rickles is awesome.
Yeah, it's weird that the film was 2 hours long, like nearly 2 hours. And I was like, holy shit!
Don Rickles reminded me a lot of. I don't know why I kept thinking of it, but there's a guy in Goodfellas who's like a lawyer, and he buys his wife a fur at one point.
Oh, is that when they throw the screwdriver in the back of the neck? That guy?
Yeah, he's really neurotic Jew.
Yeah, nebbish guy.
Terrible hair.
But Don Rickles is fucking good, and it's funny because they also have Chaz Palminteri in the beginning. Like he tries to screw around with Marie, and he gets killed like really quick. I was like, damn, Chaz Palminteri, they took him out real fucking quick in this movie. And so Don Rickles plays the lawyer of Sally the Shark, and he's very funny. He's actually probably the funniest character in the film besides Robert Loggia.
It's so not his normal offensive humor either.
Yeah, he's just an asshole in this film.
Just like a kind of nervousy, funny lawyer.
Yeah, because he's trying to cover the guy's track, but this guy turns him into a vampire, and he has the most fucking awesome contact lenses I've ever seen in a film. It's funny because the contacts that people use in this film, the way that we were describing it, kind of seems lukewarm, kind of like whatever, just like a standard mafia meets vampire film.
It's got a weirdo touch to it. I like it.
But they have good amounts of violence and horror in it. Like a lot of the horror effects, and you can owe it to John Landis knowing what he's doing. Because if you've seen the Thriller video, you saw what kind of creature effects he likes putting.
Sometimes
in
the vampire's eyes are cross-eyed. I noticed.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say a lot of the contacts aren't on correctly.
But I like the way it looks.
Like Marie's eyes they'll turn red when she's attacking people. Although as her as a vampire, she sounds like a fucking panther roaring.
Yeah, she's like a cheetah or something.
Sometimes her eyes, the contacts are on like off a little bit, just a little bit. So like one of the pupils are pointing the wrong direction, which kind of bugs me in a way. Although I don't know why.
I kind of like it in a way. It's freaky.
But Don Rickles looked awesome, and it was so funny because
in his scene where he disintegrates is great.
Yeah, because he's trying to attack a nurse. If you ever seen the film Let the Right One In, it was almost like a similar sequence in that. It was a really good movie, by the way. Well, I saw the Swedish version. I didn't see the American version.
Not funny though at all.
No, that's a totally serious. We got to do that one too. That movie's great. Anyway, but they open up these blinds, and he gets bursts into flame, and it's really good special effects of him deteriorating and burning.
Yeah,
awesome. Although when his arms fall out, like I thought his arm was gonna disintegrate on the floor, but you could tell it was like rubber with singed arms and shit. But that was a really good scene. I mean, the way we're explaining it now, it kind of sounds like some weird mishmash of genres, which it is. But they do it respectfully. It's kind of like
good and bad at the same time. But yeah, this is like one of those movies I haven't seen in I'd say like 10 years or something. But I'm so happy I refreshed myself.
Yeah, it was
so
good.
Anybody that hasn't seen it in a long time, you should
did the sex scene feel a little bit forced in the movie too? It felt very weird for me.
Well, yeah, of course, because they have to have a sex scene.
But it seems like it wasn't like the way the poster of the film. You see this really beautiful. On the poster, she's very beautiful French woman with these eyes, and it looks like a porn film, like like one of those straight to DVD like fuck movies. That's what it looks like. And then they have this sex scene. And I was like, this feels disjointed because it feels like a regular thriller action film. And then they have the sex scene because she needs sex, and obviously he's attracted to her because he's looking at her get naked in the bed and stuff like that. And then they do that move where he can't get a boner because he's so scared she's a vampire. I don't know how many times that happened to me. So then she decides to she like bends over in the bed with her ass stuck up in the air and lets him put the handcuffs on her. I was like, whoa, that was like a scene out of what was that?
Yeah,
movie?
that part was awesome.
That was kind of hot. Yeah, that was like out of that Sharon Stone movie. What the hell was that called? With the whatever. Who cares?
Where she's the stalker.
What?
The one where she's a stalker.
Yeah, the Furburger movie. Whatever the fuck that was called.
She stalks the guy who has. Is he a monster in the Falling Down? I can't think of his name.
I don't know what that movie was called, but whatever. It had Michael Douglas in it. So anyway, they had that scene. That sex scene seemed like out of place, but she's very pretty in that scene. But it just kind of felt like too long. Like they wanted people to see this hot sex scene, but it felt like out of it in that movie.
They should have had like funny close-ups, but like you'd see her vagina like sucking blood out of his penis.
Yeah, I always thought about that. Like, could you turn into a vampire if you're having sex with a vampire woman? Like,
well, you're supposed to drink the blood, technically, I guess.
Right.
You know? You have to. I mean, you have to drink the vampire's blood.
And you can't drink it out of them if they're not. Well, according to Anne Rice, you can't drink a vampire's blood unless they took blood out of you, because then you'll explode.
Yeah. You have to be. Well, I didn't know that the explosion part, but you have to be drained and then take in new blood.
That happened to somebody, that Morius's master, I think, something like that.
Oh, okay.
We're such fruits with these books. But the film looks really good. It feels like a cool 80s movie, but it's not bad. I think what it is the cover kind of throws people off because it's called Innocent Blood. I think Marie is probably the worst part of the movie, even though she's supposed to be sold as the main character.
Yeah, that's possible actually.
She's not like the
It's not bad, but yeah.
I think really it's the accent that really threw it off. I feel bad because I don't mind a French actor in a film, but she had this heavy, thick accent that I had to like rewind sometimes to see what the fuck she was talking about. Mm-hmm. And Anthony LaPaglia is serviceable as the main cop, but really the film is Robert Loggia's, like him to play around with the movie. He's just fucking awesome in the film. What are things about the film that you liked? I mean, that worked for you.
Robert Loggia, every scene with it.
Would you become a vampire if they offered it to you?
Not that kind of vampire, no.
What's that kind? Oh, like the shitty pussy vampire? What kind of vampire would you want to be?
That'd be like an Anne Rice one, sure.
But you can't get boners anymore when you're Anne Rice's vampires.
Yeah, but you can. In one scene, Lestat eats out a girl on her period.
Oh, did she put that in one of her books?
Yeah.
Oh no.
What? Why?
Oh, that's just awful.
Why?
I remember.
Tasty, come on.
Have you I'm not gonna ask. I remember reading, like, I used to write Buffy fan fiction when I was younger, and then they had that whole.
You are fruity.
I am. I'm fruitier than you. Believe me. Eating bloody vagina is way better than whatever I used to do. So then they had somebody write a book, write a short like story about Angel, I guess, going down on somebody about like premenstrual blood. Ugh. Anyway, so I mean. What was I talking about?
Do you ever eat your own scabs and stuff? It's like the same sort of idea.
Wow. So anyway, yeah, from best to worst, what do you think? What was the worst parts of the film for you?
There are certain scenes where, like, it'll show her talking like a monster, but it does this Arnold Schwarzenegger, like, weird thing, and it's so strange. Like, one point she's like, okay, I fucked up, but the way it says
I fucked up, and you hear three voices going on.
A retarded Arnold Schwarzenegger.
You can tell it was three people in sound booth doing her voice. She does do the Michael Myers thing from H2O before he did it. You know, when she's suspending herself from a ceiling.
Right.
One arm.
Yeah, and so does Robert Loggia, actually.
Does he? I forgot about that part.
He jumps down from a ceiling at one point.
I like when he jumps off the titty bar and he jumps on top of that neon light and then he jumps on the floor and then falls and then stands up.
He gets hit by the car, and he's more so pissed off that he got hit by a car than anything.
You think Landis would threaten his actors that he'll put a helicopter in the scene?
Oh, God. He always has helicopters, like, floating above the scene, and he's just, like, pointing at the actor as they're going.
And he does his typical, he does really good car scenes. You know what I mean? Like, all the cars that almost hit each other. They're really good. Like in a regular Hollywood movie, all the cars would just crash into each other. Yeah. But apparently he's like the number one director that had the most car crashes in this film. Because like I guess there's a scene in the Blues Brothers where you just see cars smash into each other, like a million cars. And in this one, like the cars, like he does really good
direction. Lots of close calls where they
like really good at close calls. Like I mean, I was impressed by that. I don't really give a shit about cars in movies, but they were pretty impressive, that scene. Anyway. What else can we really say about this film that, you know?
Nothing really. I just say
it's really worth a look if you want to see a cool 80s film, because you know how films in the in the 90s, right?
Early 90s.
But it feels like an 80s film. Okay. If you like the spirit of American Werewolf in London, it's nowhere near as good as that one. But Robert Loggia is enough, and the directing is really good, and it feels like a movie from the 80s, even though it was like the early 90s. It's a good movie to watch to pass the time. I would say the love shit is forced. Robert Loggia is awesome. I can't say that enough. Robert Loggia is really amazing. They have some very cool horror effects. It's gory. It's violent. Yeah. It's mafia hitmen turning into vampires.
Yeah, it's good mafia, actually. I usually, mafia could fail utterly, but they did it good.
Yeah, it's no Casino or Goodfellas, but I mean it's
it's not trying to be.
It's Hollywood vampire guys, right?
It's one feature of the movie. That's it.
It's Hollywood mafia versus vampire. So how really bad can you get with that? But don't take my word at that. So Danny, what's your rating for this film?
I give this film an 8 out of 10. God, I never think of anything. 8 out of 10.
Man, that's great.
Oh, God, Lord. Okay, 8 out of 10 sucking blood out of a steak because you don't understand that you need to kill people yet because you haven't comprehended what's going on.
You think that shot was done in reverse?
What, sucking the blood out?
Yeah, because he was burning the steak and then put it right in his mouth. It seems to me like they would reverse that for some reason.
I don't
to
know.
not really burn his mouth. Who cares? I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Kicking your foot in a cast against the wall until it breaks off, and then shrugging at somebody while you go upstairs. So with that, our next film is John Dies at the End, the latest film in 2013 or 2012, whenever it came out, based on the novel. So Danny, what's the final word?
Quimpty Dimpty.
The horror deconstruction.